here we go. Welcome to the School of Cloud. I'm Jeff Williams, and I'm happy that you're here. This week, we're learning BigQuery. This is the third week of our BigQuery series. And you're here at the School of Cloud event series from GDG Cloud Twin Cities. The hosts tonight are myself, Jeff Williams, and Elaine Chan. I'm from UC Berkeley, Google Tech Lead, and Elaine is from Western Michigan University, where she is a student and very interested in Google Cloud. We have a guest speaker tonight, Moria Wong from Cal State East Bay, where she studies. And we're going to jump right into it and actually go to Moria right now.
For data analyst quest. And we will be finishing the last two labs. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we started with the intro to SQL for BigQuery and Cloud SQL, followed by last week when we met for BigQuery using the Web UI Quick Start console, and also troubleshooting some common SQL errors with BigQuery. And now today we're going to start with the big data analysis to slide presentation, where we integrate the use from BigQuery into Google Workspace, particularly Google Sheet and also slides. So we're going to go ahead and click on that lab. And when you're ready, you can start the lab. I'm going to split screen 2. And remember that right now while I'm logged in on my account, I'm going for this lab, throughout this lab, I'm going to right click on the console to activate the Google Cloud Platform and use the incognito windows to run the labs. Okay, so you see that on my right-hand side, I have the lab, and on the left-hand side, I have the instructions. So next, the username is already embedded here. We're using the username that's given for this temporary lab. That's our studentquicklabs.net. And we're going to copy that password line using this copy-paste clipboard notes, and then just paste that password. You can also use the keyboard shortcuts if you'd like. And for the purposes of this lab, I'm going to go ahead and copy the project ID, just so that I have it in hand whenever I need it, so I don't have to scroll up. So one of the pro tips that I like before starting any quick labs is reading through and kind of skimming through what is happening or the instructions, so that I can know what's the workflow is going to look like, and prepare for it better. And so I'm going to skip a little bit of the introduction here, which you can read on your own, which I highly recommend that you should read when you're doing labs by yourself. And it's a good introduction of how to access Google Sheets and Google Slides from AppScript, which is part of the service for Google Workspace. And BigQuery is only available as AppScript Advanced Service. And this is one of the new feature that I think I have encountered this year with Google in Google Cloud Platform. So, and both Google Sheets and Slides have built-in AppScript services that you can perform some of these tasks too, that you'll see today. So today we will start new Google AppScript project, enable access to BigQuery Advanced Service. Go to the development editor and enter application source. Go through the app authorization process using the OAuth2 and run the application to send a request to BigQuery, then view the brand new Google Sheet created from the results from the BigQuery. Again, BigQuery is a data warehouse where we can store and also process data and data sets and tables. And so we will create outputs like charts, for example, into Google Sheet. And that's the outcome that we're hoping to be successful at today. So creating the new app script, one of the first steps is that we're suggested to go to this link. Again, I don't want to directly click on this. And instead, for this lab, I'm going to open this link using incognito window, which will open a new tab on my pre-existing incognito window. So far, so good, y'all? All right, first the chat box on the right top corner. If you have any questions, if you feel stuck, or if you have any questions. And so I'm gonna go ahead and click the Create App script on that dashboard. And this should open a code.js file. Here, I'm going to rename my project. So I'm going to rename it, say, BigQuery. At this point, it's not case sensitive, so you can choose any name you would like. But remember the name, though, because that's going to be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with the instruction. Enable BigQuery and Advanced Service. So in order to do that, we're going to enable BigQuery Advanced Service for the new project to enable the BigQuery API. So I'm going to click on the Add Account under the Services on the left-hand tab of the app script. And in the Add a Service dialog, we're going to select any services. So here I'm going to select BigQuery. And then I'm going to click Add. Now we're going to switch tab onto the Google console, the Clouds console. And that's my first tab right here on the incognito window. And I'm going to go select the navigation menu, which is the left top corner with the hamburger menu, and go on to and close that tips right now and scroll down to API and services. Another trick that I find helpful is just Control F and then API, and that should select API services. And another pro tip that I like to do when I'm doing quick labs is to pin that so that I have it on top. Whenever I need to access it, I'll go back to it later on in the lab. And under the API and services, I'm going to click Library as prompted on the instruction. We're going to we're going to search for the BigQuery API by browsing it. And you'll see that there are many types, and you want it to be exact with the lab in terms of which app you want to search. And it should be enabled. It should say that the API is enabled, but in case where the API is not enabled, you don't have to follow this step. I just wanted to show you how the API would look like when it's disabled, and then you have to re-enable it. You just need to click the enable button there. Sounds good? All right. And this should enable the BigQuery API for your project. And the way that you can check on your project is that on the top middle next to the Google Cloud Platform, there's a project ID that shouldn't match with the project ID that you have in the beginning of the lab. So we're going to go back to the project and add services dialog and select Bigquery, which we did, and then enter and run this code application. So now that we're here, we're going to copy this chunk of code and going back to the Bigquery app scripts. I'm just going to refresh that. So this code is from Google, and then this is the function code right here, this script right here. So everything that is starred and double slashed, they're just comments in SQL. And here you'll see that the code starts at function run query, and this contains the query that is prepared to connect with what we want to see later. So I'm just going to highlight everything that is in the code and paste everything that came from the instruction. And I'm going to save the project code and save it as, and rename the file, the code.gs, by clicking the 3-dotted menu and renaming it as BQ sheets slides and .gs. All right. Thank you, Elaine. Do make sure that the Quick Labs given project name has been selected as well. That's a great reminder. Thanks. So what does this code do? You know that it queries BigQuery and writes the results into a new Google Sheet. But what is this query? Let's look at the code that says run query. So run query. I think this query right here on line 31 to 38, this code right here, this code would be the query that you would run inside BigQuery. And so we're using this data set from this library and data set and table. And if you remember from last week, this indicates that this is in, because of the square bracket, this is using a legacy SQL rather than the standard one. And BigQuery is able to process both as long as you select the options in the settings when you want to run a legacy SQL or standard SQL, whichever is your preference. Okay, and we're within that, this code will produce the top 10 most frequently appearing words in all of Shakespeare's work, sorted in descending order of popularity. And this would not have been fun if you had to do it by hand. And this BigQuery, this like, I don't know, 6-7 lines of code makes our life so much easier. Awesome. So a valid project ID is required to set the project ID variable on top of the BigQuery GS. So let's replace our project ID. So within this code, on line 17, like a little bit on top right here, this is the setup. And we find that there's a your project ID holder. And this is where I want to paste. Oh, not that. This is where I want to paste my project ID. So if you scroll back to BigQuery, or the instruction for the lab, that would be the third line right here, the copyable paste that says GCP project ID. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Going back to the instruction here, and I will paste that to replace everything that is inside the single quote. And also I'll leave the single quote. So it should look like this with the singular quotes. Alrighty. And this code snippet, the if statement right here on line 18 is there to prevent the application from getting any further without the project ID in place. Okay. So that reduces the error from you querying, because BigQuery would charge based off your query. So you want to make sure that you're working specifically for certain projects. All right. So save the file and run the code by clicking run all the way on top of the web UI on the app scripts. So I'm going to go ahead and click run. That should take a few seconds because BigQuery can execute really fast and process very fast. Let's see, authorization required, review permission. If you get a pop-up like this, go ahead and click review permission. And we want to select this first, the first one that says student at quicklabs.net to allow the permission to allow the BigQuery to run this, to give permission for this student account. All right. And once you authorize the app, you don't need to repeat this process with each execution until you get to the section, put the result back into the slide deck, like much later on in this lab. All right. A small message box should be should open at the top. So mine also says my execution log at the bottom of the app script. UI shows that the execution was completed like 3 seconds later. And since it's done running, now we can go to Google Drive. Again, here on the instruction, it hyperlinks to Google Drive, and I wanted to click right on my mouse to open that link in incognito. And this is where we transfer our work into spreadsheet or Google Sheet, sorry, Google Sheet. And then I'm going to close these little tip balloons. Sahaj, that's a very good question. I don't have an answer for that. Is that language JavaScript? Did anyone recognize the pattern in the editor here? Does that look like JavaScript to anyone? That's a great question, by the way, Sahaj. Let's put that question on hold. And if anybody would like to answer, feel free to use the chat. I'm going to go ahead and continue to show my drive. And the code that we just ran should create this sheet that's titled Most Common Words in All Shakespeare's Works. And that's brand new. And also you might see this second app script with the title of BigQuery or whatever the app script that you assign to that. So mine, I named the query name as BigQuery. So let's open this sheet just to demonstrate that we have similar, just to confirm that we have the top 10 rows of words and the total counts sorted in the descending order. And I'm going to close that pop balloon tip, and then we can check our progress so far. Very cool. Thank you, Shamina, for the follow-up answer. It says specialized JavaScript. Great. Thank you. You just ran all that query on Shakespeare work in only like 3 seconds. For me, it took only 3 seconds. So that was pretty fast, considering that you have to scream through like 10,000s and hundreds of thousands of work and sorting them in descending order. So, and this is very important in business application when you're doing business analytics work. And I guess I should here, make that screen larger. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and continue with the lab. Going into, we're going to test the query in console before running it in the script, and we're going to do that just now. So going back to the first tab, we're going to BigQuery. So again, I'm gonna take a little short here. So BigQuery is under Big Data option. I'm gonna pin that. I'm gonna go ahead and click on BigQuery and then click done. This is just an opening like welcome to BigQuery pop up. And we're going to copy paste the same code that we ran earlier in the app script, just to show you how this would look like on BigQuery. So this, by pasting this in an editor on BigQuery and running this, it shows me that this query will run 2.5 megabyte of data, and there, it shows me like how much information they're processing on the top right before I even run it. And after I run the entire the chunk of code, it would yield results, and sometimes the results might be like closed like that. And so if it's collapsed, you can always drag it, and that should show you the top 10, just like what we saw on the Google Sheets. All right, so now we're going to continue with the lab. And look, we've completed the lab, by the way, with the check progress, because we successfully exported the query results into Sheets, which you can save as a CSV if you'd like, and export it or download it. So now we're going to try to show how we can create charts. And I'm going to go back to the script editor, and using the same chunk of code right here, this describes how we can add the create column chart to the BigQuery sheets right after run query. So if we scroll down to the app script, which is on my third tab in the incognito window, if I scroll all the way down, I'll see, I should see the function that says run query. All the way at the bottom. Oh, I don't see it, but I would want to make like 2 spaces and then just paste the next chunk of code. And on the next, return to spreadsheet in the above code, and under create column needs spreadsheet object. So tweak the app return spreadsheet object so it can pass to create column chart. After logging successfully the creation of Google Sheet, return the object at the end of run query and replace the last line that starts with logger.log. Okay, so we're gonna run this query. Let's see. So I'm going to add this, insert chart at the bottom, create column chart, and just adding sorts at the bottom, adding logger. And the next I'm going to, on step 3, try create BigQuery presentation function, logically segregating the BigQuery chart creation functionality ideas, create BigQuery presentation function to drive the app, calling both create column. You can, the code you add should look like this. So I'm going to just add that. So I'm going to run this. Oh, could not save. It's 12. Let's take a look. Return spreadsheet. I think because, is it because of that? Why is it missing? Yeah, I think it's because there's an extra closing here on 113, 112. Let me return to the logger. Oh, I made a mistake. So above we wanted to add the logger above the function. So just before the function, right here, I think. Log.log result spreadsheet. So instead of pasting the logger.log function on line 110, I wanted to replace that with a line 82. And I'm gonna try that. Regardless, even with the errors, I still already received that completing lab. And let's see if this runs better. And then drive the function, segregating. All right, so this should fix it. Let's hope it works without error. All right. So my execution log again shows me that it worked successfully and it created a spreadsheet. So that query we just ran should create another spreadsheet. So if we go on Google Drive, I'm going to close this sheet and then Google Drive and then refresh. There should be another spreadsheet, a second one. So let's take a look. Oh, I haven't seen the chart yet. So I'm going to close this one. I'm going to close this one. So I don't think we're in the chart creating step yet. So let's take a look at the next one. And we've added the run BigQuery, adds data and chart and sheets. And then put the create BigQuery presentation function right after this code block. Okay, so after the file name var query most, okay, so I'm going to move this chunk instead of, so the code from number 3, I'm gonna move that to follow create BigQuery presentation, which should be on the top-ish. Oh, I mean, I'm gonna search this var query name, which should be right here on the top. So I'm following line 18. That's where I would want to paste the code from step 3. Okay, and make the code more reusable. You took 2 important steps above. Return the spreadsheet object created a driving function. What if a colleague wants to reuse the run query and doesn't want the URL log? So in this, we're going to copy the first chunk, and we're going to replace the changes with the changes above with your BQ sheets slides.js. There you go. That's our hint. It is a JavaScript. Should now look like this, except for the project ID, of course. So let's see. Place this, we run this. That's a very quick question from EC. Where else can you run app script? So I think at this point, if you want to use this one, the chunk from number 4, this is the compilation of everything that we've done from step 1 to 4. You could just highlight everything in the big we can just highlight everything and then paste the new chunk from number 4 and replacing your project ID with the placeholder. Again, going back to line 17, removing that preset project ID to your own. And then when you run that, that should correct the chunk. And Elim has an issue accessing the Google Drive. Are you opening it? The page isn't working right now. Are you opening it in the incognito window by any chance, Elim? And running this whole chunk right here, which I did just did. Okay. Okay. All right. Great. Let's try doing that, like opening the Google Drive on incognito window where you're logged as a student. And I'm going to refresh this after running the chunk. So I should have a bunch of spreadsheet. Okay. So I'm going to choose the last one. I hope one of them has the chart. And that'll be like successful demonstration. Okay, not that one. Let's try the first one. So what I'm expecting is a chart inside the spreadsheet. I don't know which one it is. Let's see, last modified. Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully. Oh, I'm so hopeful. It didn't work. It didn't work on mine. Did anyone else's work? I'm gonna try running it again one more time. Another way, after the execution log, there's also an HTTPS. Let's take a look, see if that works. And then I'm just going to highlight that and go to HTTPS. Come on, let's work, let's work, let's work. Oh, it's not working. Select the run query and change which function is being run. Is that a question, Drew? Did you get it, Shamina? Did you want to share screen?
Yes, I got it. You have to, after you select the function, can you hear me?
Yeah.
After you select the function, then you click the run button.
Okay.
Then you will see it's executing. Then you know that it's doing. If you don't see the execution, then it's not working. After you select the function, select the run button.
Okay.
Did you?
Yes.
Now it's executing. You see? Now if you go to Google Drive, you will see that it's there.
Okay, let's hope it's working. Oh,
wait for it.
Showing.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Is it?
Yeah. Wait for it. The chart will come.
Okay. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Go to Google Drive. Go to Google Drive.
Okay.
Go to Google Drive.
Let's go to Google Drive.
Now click the latest one.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is the latest one. And for some reason, it's not running for me. Oh, cool. Ilim says that it had to do with the cookies. That's amazing. Something new. Okay. But are y'all getting the graph? And that's fine. If y'all could get the graph, as long as you're able to see it, that's awesome. I'm happy. I think Drew got the graph. Shamina got the graph. Yay! I'd consider that successful. So I'm going to continue putting the results data into a slide deck. So I think here we're going to, instead of using Google Sheets, we're going to use Google Slides, which is a presentation, or maybe some folks call it PowerPoint output. And then we could save the results into other types of files too, like PDF or like document files, which is very common practice when you're analyzing data and printing out results and outputs. So put the results back into slide deck, create a slide deck, start by with the creation of a new slide deck, and then add a title and subtitle to default title slide we get with all new presentation. All of the work on the slide deck takes place in the create slide presentation function, which you add to the BQ slide GS right after the create column chart function code. All right, I'm going to copy this first line into create slide, and after create column chart spreadsheet. So I'm going on line 26 on mine. I'm going to add, I'm going to paste that first chunk and then add the data table. Next step in create slide presentation is to import the data cell from Google Sheet into our new slide deck. And we're going to add this snippet code to the create slide presentation. So below here, I'm going to slide presentation function. So on mine, it will be line 43, following the chunk of code from line 33, which I added earlier. Then we're going to import the chart by appending the slide. So we're going to add that. In line 58 for mine. And we're going to return chart after. So line 64 for me. I'm going to return chart and then close that code. Okay. And update create BigQuery presentation. Since create column chart returns a chart, you need to save that chart to a variable, then pass both spreadsheet and the chart to create slide presentation function. Since you log the URL of the newly created spreadsheet, you can also log the URL of the new slide presentation. Replace this code block with this. So I'm going to look for the create for BigQuery presentation var spreadsheet. So for me, that was line 110. So it's a little bit up at the bottom. And I'm going to replace that from the comment to create spreadsheet. Let's see. Oh. And I'm going to search for the logger. Right here. It's on line 20. Sorry. So that was line 20, or line 19. Starts at line 19. It starts with run a BigQuery query, adds data chart and spreadsheet, and ends with the line logger spreadsheet get URL. So I'm going to replace that with the second chunk that's from the code. So after all the updates, your BigQuery should look like this, except for the project ID, of course. This is the vinyl version, which means we could just copy this whole big chunk and replace all the code. So just copy everything, remove everything, and replace it with the final version of the chunk. And going back again to my GCP project ID, I wanted to replace at line 4 to replace my project ID with mine, with that placeholder. And we should be able to run it now. All right, save and run the BigQuery presentation again. All right, so let's go ahead and save and run. Save project and then run. And on mine, it asks to review permission. And I'm going to select my student at quicklabs.net. And this is where we enable BigQuery to manage. All right, so that log, that query ran successfully. And that should export into the Google Drive. So again, if we open another tab in the incognito, opening Google Drive, there should be now a spreadsheet, a slide, Google slide, which I don't see on mine. I hope it works on yours. Wow, it's really not liking me today. Does anyone else's work? Let's see. Yep, that's a Google Sheet. Oh, Sahaj. Sahaj says it didn't work. Okay. Yeah, I don't think renaming would do anything. Let me try to troubleshoot. But what matters is we tried it, and then we can try it like 5 more times. You can always repeat the lab like 5 more times at your own time before it tells you exceeded your quota. So whenever like things like this don't work, if you don't get the outcome or results, don't give up and like just try it. And sometimes like the cookies doesn't work or something. I've had like so many labs where the output is just different, and then I try it like on a later time or like on a different day, and it worked perfect, and I have no idea what steps I would have missed. So yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm glad that Jayashri and Shamina's work. I hope more people work give them the output that they desired. Mine obviously is not cooperating very well tonight. It was successful in my previous attempts, so that's all I gotta say. Yeah, if you're still curious, do practice them again, and it doesn't hurt to go through the process again. You get to be more familiar with AppScript, how Google Quick Labs run their or write their instructions, and also like it's more practice time for you, you know. Thank you so much for participating. And I'm going to go ahead and transition to the next lab. If y'all ready, unless Jeff, you wanted to do like a quick breakout or anything else, because the next lab does take about like half an hour.
Yeah, it takes a while, so we'll do a breakout at the end, and
Okay.
and we'll go one lab to the next, and unless let's see.
And if you stick around until the end of the lab or like the session today, I'm gonna drop you my LinkedIn, and so we can continue connecting. And if you have any questions about the content, SQL, BigQuery, or Google Cloud, I'm also teaching next week. I'm also teaching the certification course towards Google Cloud Digital Leader certification. I'm going to talk about more security products and stuff like that. So that'll be exciting. If you don't have enough of me, feel free to join me again next week. Different day. That's on a Tuesday. Shamelessly plug in. Yeah, that is on the Tuesday one. And you'll see my me like shamelessly plugging in like on my LinkedIn too, or on my Twitter, which I will drop both of them later on. All right. So that's a really nice, good break. I hope everybody was able to check in and everything on Elaine's link. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what I do next after this. So once I close out that lab, when I end the lab, that terminates the student account access. And that's the reason why it's like saying like, oh, you're logged out, you're not signed in and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and close out like all the tabs or all the windows, however you prefer it. So that way I don't have any more of that incognito lab or residue on my system. And so I'm going to go ahead and continue on that back to that quest. that we were working on. So I'm gonna go under BigQuery and data analyst. So this one, the BigQuery basics data. And if you got shifted, here's the drop-in link for this. So we're going to scroll all the way down and explore and create reports with Data Studio. Again, this is similar process. We're going to use BigQuery, again, a data warehouse where we can store and also process data. And then we turn it into charts, report ready dimensions in Data Studio. Okay. Google also have several other visualization tools that is beyond this, and feel free to, if you have any questions about those two, there are certainly opportunities to connect with me after the lab. And I'm gonna go ahead and start this lab if y'all ready. All right. Go ahead and start that lab, and then, oh, that's so cool. I don't have to verify that I'm not a robot. I guess Google trusted me this time. I'm going to go ahead and click right on that open Google Console link and open link in incognito window. This will open a new incognito tab, and that should preset the same username right here on the left-hand side. That is different from the previous lab, by the way. Okay. So that's why you want to close out all that incognito before you're starting a new lab, and also ending the lab before you start a new lab. So the next step is to copy that password and pasting it in the password in the incognito lab, and copying that project file. And this should be like a very easy, fast lab, which I did like a long time ago. So in this lab, you're going to launch Data Studio, create and manipulate a report, and create an interactive filter for your report. All right, we're going to create some dashboarding in Data Studio. That's so cool. So we're going to go ahead and we have all the requirements. We've started the lab, by the way, if you're curious about that, why I'm like just skimming through. So now the first step is to launch Data Studio and create a blank report. First, I will open this #1 Google Data Studio. Again, I wanted to remind myself that I'm using the student account. So I'm going to click right and open it in an incognito window. And that should open a new tab. So not to be confused with my own account, my personal account, right? That has that lovely, wonderful Google credits. So I wanted to instead open it using the Quick Lab Nets, the temporary login, to verify, so that it has that privileges onto that Quick Lab project too. So from the project homepage, we're going to create blank report. Choose your country. I'm going to choose United States, of course, without any leaving the company blank, and click no for tips and recommendations. This is for market research, product announcement, and tips and recommendations. I would highly suggest to yes to all if you are using the product for enterprises work, which means like if you're working, to the yeses so you can get updates for them from them. Google is very good at announcing things that are recent and like even the smallest changes in their product too. So that's really helpful. Like for me, when I started learning BigQuery, I get a lot of like information and blogs information from them too. So that's pretty cool. That leaves us to step #4. We're going to click on the blank report. And anytime when it's ready, then we're going to click on BigQuery option for to connect the Data Studio to the BigQuery. So I want to authorize Data Studio to connect with my BigQuery projects, of course. And this is where the credential things happen. We want to click. I'm just like going with the flow, y'all, without looking into the instruction, which I should. All right, so we're on step number 8. Choose the project. All right, and let's see. 1, 2. Like authorize, and then define the project, share the project. We're going to open, oh, sorry. Instead of my projects, it's going to be under my projects. And then the Quick Labs -GCP-00, that is your project ID number from the GCP lab, the 3rd line. And that should be the one that we choose. Choosing my Quick Lab project ID and then entering manually my project name. It's not populating anything for some reason. So, oh, there it is. That's what I missed. So I pick shared projects and then check my Quick Labs. And for project name, data to insights, and it populates e-commerce. That's what we wanted. Now we're in business, finally. And then select sales report, which is all the way at the bottom here. Are y'all following? All right. Awesome. Thank you for the support, y'all. We're gonna click add there. And then add to report. Wonderful. This is so much better. Here it's showing us the list of product number or SKU and then number of the products. We have total of 454 items, which is kind of like a hassle. So we wanted to filter it a little bit to make a more meaningful, insightful report. On the right-hand side, we have a menu available field. We're going to choose a ratio on the right-hand side and drag it, click and drag into the dimension, which is the second right here. Okay, just under the product SKU. Then we're gonna scroll down, type in the area, select numeric. Under type. Where's that at? Where's that at? Where did I miss it? Any hints, y'all? Summary row. Oh, there it is. So next to the ratio, there's a little icon that says 1, 2, 3. And then if you put your cursor over it, it will show you to edit. Under type, we will choose numeric and then drop down to %. Following? All right. And now the values in the table, if you could see it, it's converted into ratio and percentile. It's that easy. Delete the table that was created for you, and you will now create a report with a customized table. All right, blank report it is. Now we're going to delete that, and then we're going to create a report. So starting with renaming the report into e-commerce product operations report. Under the toolbar menu, the tool menu bar, click on the right icon that looks like an A right here in text, and click in the blank area and type in product inventory watch list. But this is all not case sensitive. Just in case you notice, we have completed the check report. The point of this lab is just creating the blank report in Data Studio successfully connected to your project. Highlight the text area, and then text property panel will show up on the right-hand side, and you can increase the font size to 32 point if you'd like. You can also resize the text box to fit it correctly. In creating the data table, you can go on insert and then go on table, which is on the top, the fifth from the top menu. And then you can place it anywhere. And this will show you the previous data. If the product SKU is not present in dimension, make sure that you click so. And then the metric record account, we're going to delete this and add stock level into the metric area. Stock level on the right-hand side for availables field. These are the columns available field into the metric area, and drag ratio back into new metric right here beneath it. And restocking lead time is also dragged into the metric. Oh, where did my ratio go? There. So we have stock level, ratio, and restocking lead time as metrics. In the sort field, we're going to click right here. We're going to click the product SKU and choose ratio. So we just replace the primary sort using ratio. Default is in descending order, so we can leave it as is. And at the top of the panel, under Style tab, just right beneath the chart table, we're going to click on Style. Under the table header, check wrap text. So table body, make sure that the wrap text checkbox is checked, and manually adjust the width of the tables, hovering the vertical. So we're just going to click right here to adjust the table size. To confirm your report, just so that you can see a little bit. So make it a little bit bigger. Oh, that wasn't helpful. Okay. And now we're going to create an interactive filter. Clicking on your data under the available data list. So again, here, available fields, click on name. Once it's populating, click on name and drag it under dimension, but above the product SKU. So Just drag it slightly gently on there, and that should give you the name also on the left-hand side of the product SKU. Similarly, drag the total order into the metric. So here's the metric in blue, total ordered, below the restocking lead time. So that should refine the total order on the right-hand side. And on the upper right, select View. Button to preview your report. Right here, all the way on the top, on the right-hand side, there's a view, and that should show you how the report would look like on the document default. Yay! And that's how you create a Data Studio report. What I like about Data Studio, and that's the end of this lab right here. Thank you so much for sticking by. What I like about this Data Studio is also that you can mix charts like this, and also add tables, add charts, add other types of charts. So if you go back to editing, you can insert all these like different pie charts, tables, even heat maps too in Data Studio. And that's part of the reason why I like Data Studio. So you can create like an informative infographic in one page of report. Cool. And Beatrice asks if connect with the recorded session, of course. And notice that we can end the lab now that we completed everything.
We finished 2 labs. That second one, that was a little tough. There's sometimes the fine details. Yeah, sometimes the fine details can get you stuck, even the best of us. So don't get discouraged. If you find one of the labs is challenging, you can try it again. If you find it challenging one day, you can try it again another day. Don't worry about it. Just keep at it, and you'll get it. So thank you so much, everyone. Let's unmute or whatever. Let's say thank you to Moria, or throw a huge thanks over in the chat. But if you do, don't forget there's some good links in there that you might want to follow up on. Thanks again for attending the School of Cloud. Now take a look at some of our other videos, and see you back next time.